All right. Welcome to Latin Business today, Driving Success Through the Pandemic. This is our final discussion series. My name is Manuel Chinea. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Popular Bank. And with me today is Eli Mendoza. Eli, you can introduce yourself.
I'm Eli Mendoza, partner and COO of Cirrus Capital. Nice to be here with everyone again.
Great. So the first topic that we had today, navigating the changing employee expectations with, in this post-pandemic labor market. And we say post-pandemic because already we've achieved a milestone of, some states have achieved 70% vaccination rate, other states are in the 60. And clearly, for the past couple of weeks, the country positive cases have been declining very rapidly and very quickly, hospitalization and deaths, and we're all couldn't be happier about that. A lot of states have normalized and eliminated, lifted restrictions. So clearly, we are moving very decisively into the normalization of our lives. And I think that brings up a number of challenges for businesses as you're dealing with normalizing, your operations, especially and particularly as it relates to your staff. Some companies, especially if you're in retail, you operate stores or branches or whatever the case may be, you probably have been, open to the public all throughout the entire pandemic, but probably operating with very capacity restrictions and things of that sort. But a lot of small business, an increasing percentage of small businesses in other industries have been working, the majority of the employees have been working remotely. And the employees have gotten used to working remotely for the past year and a half, and bringing them back raises a number of challenges. And I think that the idea is to talk a little bit of what those challenges are, how small businesses need to look at them. I'm sure that most of small businesses have been thinking of this and figuring out how to make, if most of the employees have been working remotely, how to bring them back and bring them back safely, and when to bring them back safely. I think that with that, we can open the discussion, Eli. So what are your thoughts on that process of bringing employees back? And then I'll be happy to share some of my thoughts.
Okay. Well, I think, as you alluded to, right, it's a good thing that we are where we are relative to the virus, right? And the fact that municipalities have been now much more or are now much more comfortable with allowing people to go back to, quote, normal with respect to daily activity. Look, I think in the business context, I think like you, like me, folks are sitting home, largely speaking, doing their work and are hearing all the good signs that are going on and thinking about what it is that they're going to do or how they might want to come back to the office. And so as an owner of a business, I think important to continue to look through the lens of obviously productivity and what needs to get done for the business, but to do it in a way now, right? Understanding and having the experience of the last 16 months of taking into context and taking into account not just the productivity elements, but where the preferences and the pain points for employees might be in returning and or continuing to work from home, right? And so there's no one size fits all kind of answer to me, at least the way that I've been thinking about it. It's more of we've been working well remotely. Right. That's a proven concept. I think many businesses have done extremely well with workers at home and accomplished a great number of things that they never thought they would accomplish with people, not seeing each other face to face, including doing transactions in the business that I'm in to providing some pretty essential services, right, in other industries. And so if you start from that perspective and think about all of the things that are necessary for folks to return to work safely, physically, safely, mentally, right, and with as few concerns as possible, there are all these different personal implications to the return, right? And so there's still concerns or questions, I would say, that people have around the relative safety of, where we are and what the environment is like, traveling by work through public transportation, and do we really understand that? So at some level, there's anxiety around that. there is how quickly these changes have come relative to where we thought we might be a month ago. And so people's personal plans, which are an important element of their life, whether they need, to take care of their kids or their older parents, or happen to have been in another city or another state, right? Thinking that the pandemic would go on a little bit longer, you have to kind of think about those considerations as you set policy to return, right? And so I think the biggest thing perhaps might be to be overly communicative about what you expect your employees, how you expect your employees to perform, regardless of where they are physically for a period of time. And then, I think communicate pretty clearly what your vision is for the culture of your firm, whether it's, more remote, less remote, more hybrid, or completely back to the office, and communicate the reasons why and get people to buy into that. But be prepared to, justify the decisions that you're making, because you did put people into an environment where they had to do what they had to do at work, and no doubt they delivered for you. And now, a change is always difficult for folks. So I think communicating the why of the change and what it means to your business is pretty important.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think communication is key. To your point, a lot of folks are going to be asking the question, but why? Why, if we've been so productive, why do we have to come back to the office? And I think that being very open and transparent in the process is going to be very helpful. And one of the concerns is that, and I think it's one of the advices that we can give small businesses: make sure that you just don't come back to the office and go back to doing the business the old way. Just because now things are normal, we're going to do things exactly the same way that we were doing them pre-pandemic. That is the wrong message, obviously. We were all forced to take a very, very hard look at our processes, and because we had no alternative, I think across all companies, across all industries, we achieved tremendous improvements in our processes. We digitized a lot of the processes. We made them more efficient, and any of us should not give back all those improvements. We should take a step back and look at all the great things that came with the pandemic, and in terms of process improvement, and retain and keep those things. And then certainly there are some advantages of when we were operating in a pre-pandemic world that comes from the social interactions of people in the workplace. So I think that the biggest message is take a measured approach, take a step back and look at what are the things that came out of this that are positives in terms of improvement of processes and the way you do business, and keep those, and make sure that you don't fall into old habits, and then leverage the advantages of the things that truly add value by being in person and interacting and socializing in person. So keeping those two things. And the last thing I would say is that a recent report by the Labor Department came out, and it pointed out to the fact that the U.S. just hit the highest job quit rate in the last 20 years. And in particularly in the, I believe it's 2.7% of the employment, the workforce has quit their job. The prior highest point or peak was back in 2001, it was 2.4. And they're expecting that percentage is going to increase because of the unique situation of a lot of people working from home and realizing and reflecting on what really matters to them, and knowing that the economy is going to be, and it's already on a much stronger footing. A lot more people are willing to take a risk and leave the company if the company does not provide the right work environment. So I think that one piece of advice, you have to make the right choice for your company, for your industry and your company. But one word of advice is flexible is probably going to win the day. And you want to show some flexibility with your staff, because I think it will enable you to probably hold on to some of your key talent. If you decide to be very rigid and black and white about bringing everybody back to the office or back to the store, you might have difficulties there. So that
Yeah.
was one thing that I also feel that people need to consider when making
Yeah.
those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point. And actually, if you think about it, what you just said is there's a real win-win, right, opportunity here. One is, again, no doubt we kind of surprised ourselves by how well, right, the workforce could perform while not physically in the office using technology and using just very creative solutions to problems that we thought you couldn't solve without being face to face. Don't lose sight of that. Continue that, expand on that, right? And if you can supplement it with some face to face, strategically placed, great, right? More power to you, but that's even more business. And so the win comes that you could actually take what you learned, expand on it, push the envelope with it, try to get more business from it. And at the same time, you're probably addressing at least the desires for now of people sitting at home wondering whether they should and why they should go back to work. And higher retention, making sure your employees are happy, and the fact that you can keep them is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, given what's expected to happen here with the economy in the next few years, right, I think being well positioned to take advantage of expanding business opportunities because of the way you now operationally can deliver goods and services, and keeping a strong core of people that know your business well and that are ready to go when the expansion happens, I think is pretty good. And that's all a result of what you just described with respect to the two points you made around employee happiness and making sure we keep and don't lose the progress that we made around good process.
Yeah, and I think before we started the conversation officially, you and I were talking about the fact that, and this goes back to your point of being deliberate about the communication and studying this. There might be some roles in the organization that are individual, where you have key talent that are individual contributors, and really sometimes, obviously, our tendency is that we want to treat everybody equally across the organization, and we feel that that's the easiest and fairest way of doing it. But many times it's not necessarily the right way, because you might have some individual contributors that are, again, better served by working more time remotely or most of the time remotely, and they don't really, those social interactions in the office don't necessarily add as much probably to create as much value for them in what they do for the company. Whereas there's other people that absolutely feed on the energy, and their role is for their role, that social interaction with the rest of the employees and with the customers.
Yeah.
So I think that that's another opportunity to be a little more deliberate and look at and not be afraid of making differentiation. As long as you're able to explain the rationale why you're differentiating between this position, this individual, and these other positions in the company, people will understand, and I think that you should be able to manage through that.
No, those are great points. No, I mean, it sounds hokey, but know your customers, know your market, and certainly now more than ever, know your employees, right, and line them up.
All right. Well, I think that we covered that topic.